All right, the first thing I have to point out is that the route up Mount Everest is far from straightforward. You actually don't just climb from base camp to Camp 1 to Camp 2. It's not nearly that easy. You're going to spend about 10 days just hiking into base camp. Base camp is over 17,000 feet. And then you have to spend a few days at base camp getting used to the altitude. Now, once you spend a few nights at base camp, then you can climb up here to Camp 1. And you spend the night here at Camp 1, and then the next day, you come back down here to base camp again. You're going to spend a few nights at base camp again. Next day, you climb up here to Camp 1 and spend the night. Next day, you climb up here to Camp 2, and you spend the night at Camp 2. And then the next day, come all the way back down to base camp. Spend a few nights at base camp again. Climb up to Camp 1 the next day, spend the night. Next day, you're going to climb up here to Camp 2, spend the night. Next day, you're going to spend about 9 or 10 hours fighting your way up to Camp 3. You spend the night at Camp 3. It's almost 24,000 feet. And the next day, guess where you go? Yep, all the way back down to base camp. So the reason you have to keep coming back down to base camp is because you have to let your body get used to the altitude very slowly. It's this process called acclimatization. If someone were to magically drop you off on the summit of Mount Everest, if you could be dropped there by a plane or a helicopter or something like that, you would be dead in a matter of minutes from the altitude. So you have to move up this mountain really slowly so your head doesn't pop off when you get to the very top. All right, dealing with change. This is just what you get when you go to the mountains. Everything is always changing. It's all this stuff you cannot control. The weather's kind of an obvious thing that changes, but you've got other stuff too. You've got the weather, your health, the health of the team, the conditions of your gear, the conditions of the route, things going on with other teams. All of these things are always changing. You don't know what's going to happen from one minute to the next. So sometimes you look up at the summit of Mount Everest and it looks like this. It looks like, it might be pretty approachable, but within a matter of minutes, a summit can look like that. That's really intimidating. But one thing you know about these storms is that they are always temporary.